20,000. That is the lowest total since March 2013. So still, large numbers of EU nationals coming to live here, but lower than we've seen over the last few years, and certainly more who are going home.
And the figures that are out today are not just concerning EU travel, though, are they? It's for around the world and the picture of immigration more widely. Yes,
that's right. And what's interesting is that for people who are coming to Britain from outside the European Union, we're seeing a rise there, a rise in immigration. That is largely driven by more people coming to study in Britain, and particularly because there seemed to be a sort of an uncharacteristic dip this time last year. So that may have been corrected a bit, but certainly the net figures in terms of the difference between the numbers of people coming to live and those leaving from outside the EU is now at its highest for around 6 years, 205,000. Now, is that partly because as firms perhaps are struggling to recruit workers from the EU or struggling to retain employees from the EU, they're looking outside the European Union? Of course, there are restrictions on how many workers can be employed from outside the EU, but that might be a factor. It might be something that the government is very keen to look at.
OK, thanks for talking us through that, Danny. Danny Shaw. OK, headlines for you in just a moment, but we're going to get a look at the rather chilly weather outlook, I think. Here's Simon.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. If you think it's chilly at the moment, just wait until we get to Sunday and into next week, turning really very cold. But for today, lots of dry weather, lots of quiet weather around, really. There is some sunshine out there, as you can see here in Suffolk, but a bit of cloud as well across England and Wales. The cloud will come and go through this afternoon. Still fairly bright, really, for many of us, and dry for the vast majority, except perhaps the east and Northern Ireland towards western Scotland, where you could catch the odd shower or two. Feeling chilly, though, as I mentioned, temperatures about 5 to 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. Now, through this evening and tonight, with clear skies, there's going to be a frost. In fact, more of a widespread frost compared to last night, and a harder frost in places as well. Temperatures potentially down to -4, -5 degrees in northern areas. So cold and frosty to start off on Friday. Should be lots of dry weather, though, with some sunshine, increasing amounts of sunshine into the weekend. But it's into the weekend that we'll notice it's going to start to feel much, much colder. That's it for me. Bye-bye.
Hello, this is BBC News, our latest headlines. Theresa May will seek to overcome differences within her cabinet on Brexit this afternoon as senior ministers join the Prime Minister at her rural residence, Chequers. She's under pressure to spell out what the government wants from Brexit. Meanwhile, the number of EU citizens leaving the UK is at its highest level for a decade. Around 130,000 left in the last year, partly, it's thought, because of Brexit. President Trump says giving teachers guns might help prevent future mass shootings in US schools. In a meeting with survivors of last week's shooting in Florida, Mr. Trump also backed calls for improved background checks on people buying guns. Lecturers at more than 60 universities across the UK are beginning 5 days of strikes in protest at changes to pensions. Universities UK calls the action disappointing and says it is working to minimise disruption. And in a moment, a major study has concluded that common antidepressants are effective. We'll be hearing about the experiences of people who've been on the medication for a number of years. Now, though, let's get a look at all the sports news.